Hi, I'm Dr. Steve Vargo, and this is episode 25 of Can I Ask You One Question, where we dive into the minds of thought leaders and industry experts, and we try to learn one critical thing from them that we can apply to our professional lives, sometimes even our personal lives. And I have with me Devon Climer, and Devon is a corporate speech trainer and workplace communication specialist. And Devon owns and operates her own consulting firm where she teaches dedicated professionals clear, effective business communication skills. So great to see you again, Devon.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Steve. I'm excited to be here.
Devon spoke at an IDOT conference we had in the past, so I thought she'd be a great person to ask about the topic of workplace conflict. So that's where we're going to go with this episode. And something I think most leaders have to navigate at some point is that the people on their team aren't always going to get along.
Mhm.
And some of this is normal and manageable. You expect you put enough people in the room that not everybody's always going to get along. But sometimes if it's not properly managed, can become detrimental to the business and the office culture as well. So, Devon, my question to you, and
Mhm.
I'm certain you've dealt with this,
Sure.
what's the best way to handle conflict among employees?
I love this question, and I think it is such a pain point for so many people because it can be really uncomfortable to have to confront these types of issues. What I like to preface with is just the idea of trust and trusting in your staff and having them trust in you. So I think that's a good way to kind of preface this and kick this off, just because, there are going to be little things that happen in a workplace, in an office. Like you said, not everybody's going to get along. And with that, there will be some conflict and some that maybe doesn't necessarily require immediate intervention, and I think that's an important note to bring up just because, especially as a leader, you don't want to be micromanaging your team. You want to trust that they're able, if there's something that is coming up, that they're able to manage it. If it's something that is certainly, you know, if it's something that is ongoing or really affecting team morale, or of course interfering with the work environment, then that's when you want to really step in there. But I like to preface with that just because I think it is important to note that we have to have some trust in our people. But with that, I think the best way to handle conflict when it is at the point where it's ongoing and really interfering with the team and with the workplace, it's important to be direct, but to be direct in a thoughtful way. And the best way to do that is through listening and through actively listening to, each member on the team who is having, some issues with each other. And, to really actively listen and take in, each side to whatever is going on, and, really make a point to withholding judgment and withholding, maybe criticism or something until you get all the information and can really, get a clear sense as to what's going on. So I think that's, probably the biggest thing is to be direct and to address it, but in a way that, certainly is well thought out and truly, open-minded, just so that you can get all the information. And then from there, especially when you go then to have these types of conversations with team members, really staying solution focused is what is going to help be the most productive and the most constructive for everybody involved. So especially if conversations, if they become a little bit emotionally charged, or perhaps they kind of veer off on a different direction, use your solution as your North Star and, kind of as your guiding sense to kind of bring back the conversation to what's really important. And really what's important is coming up with a way to fix it and a way, to help everybody, get back on track and stay focused on, what the most important thing is. So that would be definitely my next piece of advice there, is just to keep conversations solution focused and, just as best as you can so that you can resolve whatever it is that's going on. Yeah.
Great advice. A lot of times it's more emotion than anything. And I think that's where
Yeah.
I knew you were going to say it just from and
Yes.
I've had to figure out myself, not just in the workplace, but in all areas of our life, that,
Sure.
when there's any kind of conflict, becoming a better listener is probably the best thing you can do. Because ultimately, I think most
Totally.
people, they just want to be heard. And the minute
Yes.
so when you've got two people fighting, if they just would take the time to listen to each other, a lot of times it becomes,
Yes.
or if you can navigate from here's what you did to me versus here's how it made me feel. I think
Yeah,
more people can empathize with how something I did made you feel versus trying to make me feel like I did something wrong, which I may
for
not feel
sure.
like I did anything wrong. But yeah, that's where the listening comes in, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, using these types of conversations as, an opportunity for growth too, not only for your employees, but also for yourself as a leader. I think kind of coming at it through that lens is really useful for people too. And, really just focusing on kind of just that growth mindset way of thinking, just
Hmm.
that, focusing on behaviors that perhaps the employees are exhibiting that is something that, can be tweaked to have a more productive environment. That's a good way to kind of go at it too, and to help it, just be more of a constructive conversation, especially when emotions are involved.
Perfect. Yeah. And I think a lot of times leaders' first instinct is to try to fix something when maybe trying to understand it would be a better
Right.
approach.
Yes, I absolutely, for sure.
Well, Devon, thank you so much. It's a very important topic that comes up a lot more than I ever realized, which is
Yeah.
why I wanted to ask you about it. When I started doing
Yes.
consulting, it would be much more frequent complaint that I would hear from a lot of people in leadership positions, which in
Sure.
my industry is usually either doctor or office manager. I didn't realize to what degree they had to deal with a lot of the conflict that took place in offices. So
Yeah.
I had to better understand it to help them, and the advice you're giving is very valuable for people to hear and take in. So,
Mm.
where can people find out more about you and your services and company and
Sure.
anything else you want to share?
Sure. Yes. Well, first of all, thank you so much. I really do think this is, something that hits home to many people across really any industry. So absolutely. The best way to get a hold of me is connect with me on LinkedIn. So I'm Devon Climer, Devon, and my last name Climer. You can find me on there, connect with me, follow me, and see what I'm up to. Or feel free to shoot me an email at hello@devonclimer.com, or my website is www.devonclimer.com. So any of those ways you can get a hold of me, and I would be happy to chat more. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for being here. Keep up the great work with what you're
Yeah.
doing. And thanks everyone for listening. And you can find the show notes for this and all other episodes at drstevevargo.com. Thanks again, and we will see you next time.